ask Mustafa Hocam, can you read for us? Mustafa Tuna, if possible.
Why? Nemir abi.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers.
Walaikum assalam. Are you okay to read for us from beginning to the end, since this is a small piece?
Tamam. Is it this one? In the name of
Yeah,
Allah?
this one on the screen.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God. Give me 1 second, brothers. In the name of Allah. Sorry, my phone keeps blanking for some reason.
If it is hard for you, that's okay, you know.
Excuse me?
If it is very hard for you to read, that's okay. I mean, we can.
It's okay. But he cried through the depths of darkness. There is no God but you. Glory be unto you. I was indeed among the wrongdoers. When he called upon his sustainer, saying, verily, harm has afflicted me, and you are the most merciful of the merciful. But if they turn away, say, God suffices me. There is no God but he. In him do I place my trust, he, the sustainer of the throne of glory supreme. For us, God suffices, and he is the best disposer of affairs. There is no strength and no power other than through God, the high, the mighty. The enduring one, you are the enduring one. The enduring one, you are the enduring one. And to those who believe, guidance and healing. This is the first section of the 31st letter, consists of 6 flashes, each of which depicts one of the many lights of the above verses and phrases. The recital of each of these 33 times, particularly between Maghrib and Isha, the prayers at sunset and nightfall, is most meritorious. The first flash. Supplication of Hazrat Yunus ibn Mat'a, peace be upon our Prophet and upon him, is a most powerful supplication, a most effective means for obtaining answer to prayer. The gist of the celebrated story of Yunus, peace be upon him, is as follows. He was cast into the sea and swallowed by a large fish. The sea was stormy, the night turbulent and dark, and hope exhausted. But it was while he was in such a situation that his supplication, there is no God other than you, glory be unto you. Indeed, I was among the wrongdoers, acted for him as a swift means of salvation. The secret of his supplication's power was this. In that situation, all causes were suspended. For Yunus needed to save him, one whose command should constrain the whale and the sea, and the night and the sky. The night, the sea, and the whale were united against him. Only one whose command might subdue all 3 of these, bring him forth on the strand of salvation. Even if the entirety of creation had become his servants and helpers, it would have been of no avail, for causes have no effects. Since Jonah saw with the eye of certainty that there was no refuge other than the causer of causes, and unfolded to him was the meaning of divine oneness within the light of divine unity, his supplication was able suddenly to subdue the night, the sea, and the whale. Through the light of divine unity, he was able to transform the belly of the whale into a submarine and the surging sea, which in its awesomeness resembled an erupting volcano, into a peaceable plain, a pleasant place of excursion. Through the light of unity, he was able to sweep the sky's countenance. Can you scroll up, brother, a little bit? Thank you. The sky's countenance clear of all clouds, and to set the moon over his head, like a lantern. Creation that had been pressing and threatening him from all sides now showed from a friendly face from every direction. Thus he reached the shore of salvation, where beneath the creeping gourd tree he observed his favor of his sustainer. Now we are in a situation 100 times more awesome than that in which Jonah, upon whom be peace, first found himself. Our night is the future. When we look upon our future with the eye of neglect, it is 100 times darker and more fearful than his nights. Our sea is this spinning globe. Each wave of this sea bears on it thousands of corpses, and is thus 1,000 times more frightening than his sea. Our fish is the caprice of our soul, which strives to shake and destroy the foundation of our eternal life. This fish is 1,000 times more maleficent than his, for his fish could destroy 100-year lifespan, whereas ours seeks to destroy a life lasting hundreds of millions of years. This being our true state, we should, in imitation of Jonah, upon whom be peace, avert ourselves from all causes and take refuge directly in the causer of causes, that is, our sustainer. We should say, there is no God but you, glory be unto you. Indeed, I was among the wrongdoers. And understand with full certainty that it is only He who can repel from us the harm of the future, this world and caprice of our souls, united against us because of our neglect and misguidance. For the future is subject to his command, the world to his jurisdiction, and our soul to his direction. What cause is there other than the creator of heavens and earth, who can know the most subtle and secret thoughts of our hearts, who can lighten the future for us by establishing the hereafter, who can save us from the myriad overwhelming waves of the world? No, outside the necessarily existent one, there is nothing that can in any way give aid and effect salvation except by his consent and command. This being the case, considering that as a result of his supplication, the whale became for Jonah a vehicle or a submarine, and the sea a peaceable plain, and the night became gently lit for him by the moon, so too we should make the same supplication. There is no God but you, glory be unto you. Indeed, I was among the wrongdoers. With the sentence, there is no God but you, we draw the gaze of mercy upon our future. With the word, glory be unto you, we draw it upon our world, and with the phrase, indeed I was among the wrongdoers, we draw it upon our soul. Thus, our future is illumined with the light of belief and the moonlight luminosity of the Quran, and the awe and terror of the night are transformed into tranquility and joy. Then too, embarking on the ship of the truth of Islam, fashioned in the dockyard of the most wise Quran, we may pass safely over the sea of this earthly abode, which through the alternation of life and death is boarded by corpses unnumbered, borne on the waves of the years and centuries, and cast into nothingness. Once aboard that ship, we may reach the shore of salvation and fulfill our life's duty. The tempest and surging of the sea will appear a series of pleasing images on a screen, and instead of inspiring terror and dread, will delight, caress, and illumine the reflective and the meditative gaze. By virtue of the mystery of the Quran and the effect of the criterion of truth and falsehood, our soul will ride no longer us, but instead become our mouths. As we ride it, it will be for us a powerful means for the attainment of life everlasting. In short, man, in accordance with the comprehensive nature of his being, as he suffers and shakes with malaria, so also he suffers from the shaking and tremors of the earth, and the supreme convulsion of all beings of the day of resurrection. As he fears the infinitesimal microbe, he also fears the shooting star that appears among the heavenly bodies. As he loves his home, he also loves the wide world. As he loves his little garden, he also ardently loves infinite and eternal paradise. Man's object of worship, sustainer, refuge, savior, and goal, then can only be the one in the grasp of whose power is the whole universe, under whose command are both atom and planet. Man should therefore constantly say like Jonah, upon whom be peace, there is no God but you. Glory be unto you. Indeed, I was among the wrongdoers. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save that which you have taught us. Indeed, you are all-knowing, all-wise.
Thank you very much. It was very nice.
Yes.
So, inshallah, we will contemplate together. Although Jezbabi assigned me as the moderator, so it's kind of, we're going to contemplate on it together. To start with this introduction, we understand, so these are eskar, so these are best wordings, let's say, taken from Quran. And repeating of these words, sentences are giving a lot of goodness at certain times, especially as mentioned here, between Maghrib and Isha, especially mentioned to be done so. Usually these are attached to different sources of hadith. I had seen some of them, so it is very powerful. Jezbabi, can we go down? So among these askars, so we start with the prayer of Yunus alayhi salam, which is mentioned in the Quran, right? Which is La ilaha ente subhaneke inni kuntu minaz zalimin. So here, I think this is one of the masterpieces of Ustad Nursi, in the way that he shows us how to interpret Quran, or how to interpret some verses in a way which will make sense in our just time right now. So what does this verse tell me right now? So I think it's an excellent example for us. And I think it's our job to treat all verses in the same fashion. So it just skips the story in detail, right? We are not interested in Yunus alayhi salam's story in detail, but we know that this supplication was very powerful. So we can, I can just open, just asking the question, like here, the start says that, this prayer of Yunus alayhi salam is a very good way to get answer or to get correspond from Allah. So what do you think? I have a quick answer in my mind, but I also want to hear from you. Why do you think this supplication is a powerful way of getting response from Allah? What is special with that? With the literal meaning or with the apparent meaning? There is no God other than you. Glory be unto you. Indeed, I was among the wrongdoers. Of course, we will be reading in more detail to contemplate on, but since we read all the piece, what do you think? Why this is a way to be responded by Allah?
There is one part in the text, I want to reread it. Maybe we can think together over that. Even if the entirety of, you can hear me well?
Yes, Baykar.
Okay. If the entire, even if the entirety of creation had become his servants and helpers, it would have been of no avail, for causes have no effect. Since Yunus alayhi salam saw with the eye of certainty that there was no refuge other than the causer of causes, and unfolded to him was the meaning of divine oneness within the light of divine unity, his supplication was able suddenly to subdue the night, the sea, and the whale. Especially this part is kind of mysterious to me. Unfolded to him was the meaning of divine oneness, Tawheed, within the light of divine, Ahadiyya, I guess, within the light of divine unity, Tawheed.
Nur-u Tevhid içinde ehadiyet değil mi? Ehadiyet. Yeah, it's inside Tevhid, ehadiyet was unfolded in a way. Baykar abi, what do you think? I mean, how a hadiyat, maybe this is the core of this text in my mind, how a hadiyah is powerful, you know, to get response for our prayers, for instance. Or what does it mean, a hadiyat, meaning of Allah's unique oneness being unfolded? With the help of other passages from Risale-i, or maybe it can tell something to us.
It's a broad topic that, as you said, explained in many parts, but in the light of this story, if we apply it, kind of we can say that we have the stormy sea, the dark night, the whale, the big fish in this ocean. So all of these should be under the control of one, which we can look with Tawheed. But at the same time, there should be one who hears even the cries of Yunus alayhi salam in the depth of his heart. So it's kind of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is present with his ahadiyya there. I guess that's the way that I can apply this story to this sentence.
I definitely agree. When I hear the word ahadiyya, especially under the context of, you know, causal relationships, I immediately remember 8 words. 8 words from Words book, you know. Over there's a story like somebody's being chased by a lion, right? And he just runs until he just stops by a big hole, and then just jumps in, then suspended in the air, just holding on the branches of a tree. You know this story. And the tree's roots are, you know, eaten by some mice. And so at this position, I think it is similar to the here. The person suspended in the hole, holding the tree, starts crying out, right? It's kind of being enlightened, the time which this person is enlightened. So, and I think it is the point, again, like here, a hadiyah is revealed. What I understand, so we look at the universe, we look at the causes in our lives as well. So we try to understand the nexus, we try to understand the subtle relationships, right, happening and triggering each other. But we are not neglected. Among these huge, giant, cosmic relationships, we are not neglected. So the point, the time we figure this out, we are aware of this, I think it is the time a hadiyat is unfolded. This is how I understand. As you said here in the Yunus alayhi salam's example, how it happens, you know, it is dark outside, it is wavy in the sea, and it is, you know, it's kind of very bad situation. But at this point, Yunus alayhi salam in himself, Allahu alam, just feeling the need of, you know, being submitted to all the doers of these causes, or Allah who is holding all the ties of these causes. The point is revealed is whenever you feel it in your heart, maybe, as it is mentioned here. So once we feel this in our hearts, then we understand that we are not neglected, we are not out of the big picture of the causal relationships going on. Because usually when we look at happenings in the universe, right, I think we are neglecting, or most of the time my nafs, my lower soul, neglects itself. I consider myself out of the scenario. For example, I see somebody died, I say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun, but my lower soul never takes on itself that it is going to die as well. So I think at this point, if the lower soul takes on itself, like it is going to take on itself, it will die also. I think then it's a nice point for being enlightened, and it's kind of a way to get closer to Allah, and it's the point of all supplications, right? Being closer to Allah. So being closer to Allah means we are going to feel the response from Allah deeper. Anybody else?
One of the names of Allah is Raqib. So he is overseeing everything. So he is also overseeing me. He is controlling me, whatever I am connected. He is controlling. So understanding this, so Hadiyah is, everything is under the control of Allah. So while he is sustaining the whole universe, I'm not forgotten. So this is the meaning of many Asma Ilahiyya, many names of Allah is focusing in one point while dealing with these. So nothing is forgotten. So I'm under his protection, under his sustaining. So this meaning, when it is unfolded, so this is the what makes the Yunus Alaihissalam's supplication very powerful, is unfolding this meaning. So the Wahidiyya is all names of Allah is encircling the whole universe. Rahman, when we say Rahman with Wahidiyya, so it is all the whole universe is under the manifestation of Ism Rahman. But when we consider a Hadiyya, so in the smallest things also we can observe the Rahman together with many other names. So he is at the same time, he is showing his mercy upon me. He is sustaining me. He is protecting me, and so on. So understanding this, I think, the more we understand this, the more we are getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is very spot for this piece. As you say, Wahidiyya, Allah's being oneness in general. So remember, in some places in Risale-i Ustad Nursi mentions, in order not to be drowned, right, with Wahidiyya, always Ahadiyya is presented to us. In other words, when we look at the universe in general, we might feel lost. We understand the Wahidiyya, oneness of Allah, just sustainer of everything, all the things. Let me say, I'm just underlining all the things. But when we are contemplating in this manner, we might get lost. We can forget ourselves, however we interpret this. For this not to happen, we are also attracted by the small portions of the universe. When talking about, let's say, skies in general, also the Quran talks us about a human being, so a smaller scale for us to focus on. This is for us not to get drawn. So we see the oneness of Allah in big picture, but for us not to be drawn, we are shown the oneness, what we call unique oneness, right? In small things. Also this is a way for us to see Allah's oneness in small details, and which is very important, because when we look at the small details, nothing is small, right? Whatever Allah created, the atom or neutrino, whatever physical existence right now, maybe what is called Gibbs boson, right? So it is also very well taken care of by Allah. So understanding it this way will give no empty space to fill in with something else other than Allah. So this will give us a perfect submission in our prayers to be responded.
I guess that was a very
Can we understand? Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Like that.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, can we understand ahadiyya almost like ahadiyya and wahidiyya, like two types of manifestations of Allah's oneness, one in a more general scheme where it might be hard for us to, but of ahadiyya having a more unique and specific manifestation or an individualized manifestation of oneness, so that, like, I don't know, in the example of Yunus alayhi salam, like in Wahidiyya, like he's the one, Allah is the one who is controlling everything in the universe. But in that specific situation, looking at my situation, he is also the one who sees me at this dark location and can control everything. He controls me, and he controls this situation specifically, and he controls what is around me. Just like
your voice is breaking up a little bit.
like me. Oh, sorry. Well, my connection might be a bit unstable. Zoom tells me that, so maybe that. But did you?
Now,
I don't know.
Now it's better, Mustafa. Yeah.
I know where you missed it though. I talked a lot.
Okay, nice. No, it's going on very nice.
Like,
Please
I guess
go.
in summary, can we understand Wahidiyya versus Ahadiyya as a more general manifestation of Allah's oneness versus a more individualized manifestation of Allah's oneness?
Yeah, absolutely. We can understand in this way. Particularly, I'm trying to draw our attention to this first flash context of Ahadiyya. Also, it is, I think, similar to the first word. Continuum of the first word, right? It is the 14th flash, second part. Over there, Ustad is talking about some enigma about Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, right? Over there, when he's talking about it, actually, he's talking about Ahadiyya once again, Allah's unique oneness. And see the same meaning, I believe. He says, if we don't see Allah's oneness in particular, it's almost impossible for us not to be drawn with the, Allah's, let's say, oneness in general. Even, over there, Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim stands as a way to reveal Ahadiyya. That's how I understand that part. Why do we say Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim with everything? Because we are lost in this world. We are lost within the relationships among causes, different causes. Not to get lost, we are saying Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim because we are preparing our heart in a way to see Allah's oneness in particulars, in minute details. This is how our creation or how our human condition works. Otherwise, I think it is easy to neglect ourselves. In my saying, we take ourselves out of the scenario, but we are actors in this scenario, and that's how we understand that we are real actors in this scenario is by means of understanding Ahadiyya. That's something that I want to draw attention to, if you agree.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yes. My name is Ahmed. I recently had a halaqah about the first flash with a friend, and we were actually going to do a second flash today, maybe. And after we saw that there's another one, we wanted to join. And as
Great, welcome.
Yes, as we were reading, I was also trying to understand that sentence you mentioned regarding the Sirr Ahadiyat and Nur Tawhid being inkishaf, like developing inside of Nur Tawhid, Sirr Ahadiyat developing inside of Nur Tawhid, what this means. because it seemed like this is important, and we are still trying to understand it. But some of the ways we interpreted it, or I understood, was like that is what caused this, that Sır-ı Ehadiyet, Nur-u Tevhid içinde inkişaf happened, because Jonas saw that there was no other helper other than the causer of causes. So, but what caused him to see that there is no helper other than the causer of causes is being in an impossible situation almost, which I think from one, it's not only one cause that's against him, it's multiple. So it felt like it's like growing from micro to macro, seeing that it's not just one cause, but all causes are behind, is as a result of causer of all causes. So as it grew from micro, like not just one cause, but all of them, he could see the unity in all, that there is one that is causing all of them. Because if it was just one, maybe he could still have hope and survive, right? It depend on his own self. But when there's second one, it's not just like he's drowning, or there's waves, or there's night. He's inside a whale too, so a fish. So it's almost, his hands are tied to the point wherever he looks, everything. So that's how I understood, like the more that he had a chance to do a reflection, that everything that he saw was the causer of all causes. So his situation helped him to see it, I think, in that way. And also in terms of trying to understand like Sır-ı Ehadiyet and Nur-u Tevhid, please correct me or contribute. Like what I'm trying to understand is like how I understand Nur-u Tevhid, like you said, Wahdaniyet, is like, my friend also contributed with the word Sunnatullah. So he said Nur-u Tevhid is like Sunnatullah, and Sır-ı Ehadiyet is like Kudretullah. Like Nur-u Tevhid as in Sunnatullah, Wahdaniyet is like there's laws, right, that are not stable, but Allah chooses to create them in certain ways all the time that we perceive them as stable. That's where the test is, right? The imtihan. If we can go behind the veil and the causes and find the causer of the causes. So normally someone in this situation would have to be dying, right? Or someone who's falling, the gravity would take him, or someone like in the fire would burn. So how I understood is like what it means by inkishaf is now because of Kudretullah, it's like a mujiza, Allah is doing an exception to what he normally is in his adatullah, normally does it another way, so that's how that if we are able to see like from micro to macro, that everything that is all the things, all the causes, all that are a reflection of his esma at the same time, then it can allow us to, Allah can make exceptions from his just, because none of these things that we say Wahdaniyat are stable anyway. Everything is done very just like the snow particles, everything, all of them are unique. So you cannot say the gravity is what makes us fall or the fire is what burns. It's because what he chooses is to. And when we acknowledge that, all of these things that look like are actually sunnatullah, are not some things that we depend on really, because it's him, he decides all the time, right? So now actually Sır-ı Ehadiyet is all the time like that. But if you acknowledge that it is like that, then it comes to your rescue like that. So that's how we understood. But I think there's a lot more going on here, because I think we need to understand what is Wahdaniyet and Ehadiyet, and there's many aspects. And I guess like Mustafa brother said, both of them can be at the same time. You can have Wahdaniyet and Ehadiyet at the same time. Yeah, so that's what we interpreted from there.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Brother Ahmet. I think it's a very nice contribution. And what I take from what you are saying, it's interesting to draw attention to Sunnatullah versus Kudretullah. I want to understand it in a way which is actually not just maybe Kudret, but most of the names. And maybe with Ehadiyet, actually, Ehadiyet it's kind of a focal point, right? Focal point. It's a focused way of understanding reflections of Esmail Husna. But a very nice distinction from your side that I understand. Sunnatullah, it's kind of more general when we look at from the perspective of Wahidiyeh. And again, this generalization gives us a way to neglect ourselves. And I think with Ehadiyeh perception doesn't give us a way to neglect anything, including ourselves, because it's kind of, we are trying to focus on reflection of Esmaul Husna on particulars. So whatever reflected on the universe in general is reflected on myself, reflected on a small flower whatsoever, even on an occasion, even on a journey whatsoever. So it gives us a light way of reading huge passages in a way. And of course, this comfort zone, let me call it, this comfort zone given to us by Allah's mercy. Again, I'm drawing attention to 14th flash second part, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. It's this type of hadiyah gives us a comfort zone to contemplate on the names of Allah more clearly. And contemplating names is, right, asking to Allah with his names. That's how it should be. This is how we learn from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, asking Allah by names, right? But how do I internalize this is by this perception. And one great thing I think you mentioned is this lisan-i ızdırar, right? When we look at the prayers, the most effective prayer is by the tongue of being subject to, right? ızdırar. So when you are in need, like Yunus alayhi salam here, he's in need because all the causes are suspended, right? So it's the situation of being in an ızdırar position, being in a very desperate position, let's say. So the more desperate you are actually with your tongue of this position, lisan-ı hal, you are in a state of prayer, which will be responded in the strongest way, let's say.
In the light of what you said in the beginning, so when you say we neglect ourselves, it's kind of we are so busy with our own nafs, so we are kind of drawn in ourselves, so we forget that we are also subject to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's manifestation of his names, kind of, right?
Right.
So it can only be seen in the by the eyes of a hadiyah, and as you said, even while praying, we kind of do our own put it on in order, see our priorities. We are kind of, I can take care of this, I will get over this, I will do it myself, and then at the end, when I am stuck with all the causes, Allah, help me with this. So it's kind of we are kind of thinking that we have a dominion which is outside Allah's, and we're kind of taking care of that part, and then when we are out of control or resourceless, now we turn our face to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But as you said, if you can see the manifestation of those names with his hadiyah, in everything, in every single detail, then now we realize that as we are taught in the Quran, the galaxies, stars, moon and sun, is atmosphere, everything is under his control, but at the same time he never is neglecting any of his creation, even the minutest details. So if we cannot observe this in our lives, now we're drawn in ourselves, kind of. That's what I guess you mean with neglecting ourselves.
True, Baykar abi. Absolutely. And Adam is saying, are we all in the belly of the whale right now? Who wants to respond to this? Are we all in the belly of the whale right now?
We are way down
I wrote there absolutely, but yeah, I mean, probably a worse situation too, right? I mean, that would be my, because I mean,
Maybe
probably a similar response is given in this text as well, right, towards the end, like, because our fish is not only threatening our world life, like Yunus alayhi salam's fish, it is threatening our eternal life. So in that sense, it is actually a more dangerous situation than what he was in.
So we can definitely perceive that we are in the belly of the whale. That's true, and we are trying to learn how to pray in a way, in a nice way, to fix ourselves, to put in a state to be responded in a way, or to hear the responses. We know that Allah always responds, right? But we are not always in a state to see, hear, understand responses, actually. I think it's a good time to draw attentions to the representations in this story, right? Shall we start discussing what this knight in the story corresponds to, what the whale corresponds to? I think it will be nice to start discussing these aspects. Wa alaikum assalam.
Am I audible?
Yes, Mustafa Hocam, we hear you.
Yeah, I wanted to add something, and that might perhaps also serve as a transition. Now, we talk quite a bit about the opening up of the secret of Hadiyya within the, within Wahidiyya, within oneness. And, when we think of that, and then if we were to, think of the situation that Yunus alayhi salam, found himself in, or our situation, as inshallah you seem to be transitioning to, we can perceive an evil in that. We can perceive a bad situation, a problem in that. And when we move with the perspective of a hadiyah, by giving everything to God, there is still a trap there, the trap of giving the evil to God too, because if everything is from God, so evil is from God. So that is a false logic that might follow from that. But one reason why I think the prayer of Yunus alayhi salam is so beautiful is that he immediately cuts the pathway to that line of thinking, and he says, La ilaha illa anta, there is no God other than you. Right? And he says, Subhanaka, glory be to you. But we translate Subhanaka as glory be to you, but it has a much deeper meaning. It says, there you are, above and beyond all defects, deficiencies. If there is any defect and deficiency that I see, I perceive, in my environment, in myself, etc., that is not from you. I purify you. I exalt you above all these things. And then he says, Inni kuntu min al-zalimin, right? I oppressed myself. And that, kind of reminds us of the verse where God says, if there is, any good that comes to you, that's from God. If there's any bad that comes to you, that's from your own selves, on your nafs. And when you transition now, the hut, the fish, will become the self, the lower soul, right? So there is perhaps an added layer of understanding the meaning of a hadiyah, in the sense that we understand that God is perfect and the way he creates is also perfect. And if there is something that appears to be missing or defective or deficient, right? That is from us, from our negligence, from our inability to see reality as reality is, from our inability to fulfill what befalls us. So I thought that would complete the meaning there, and then perhaps you can transition from there to the metaphors, inshallah.
Thank you, Mustafa Hocam. I think that's an excellent meaning. I never thought about it. I think it's, as you mentioned, very relevant here, since it says, Inni kuntu minaz zalimin. Maybe it's a way, as you mentioned, if I give everything to Allah, maybe my nafs will tend to give also all the evils, bad things to Allah, in a way. Again, will neglect nafs, his nafs, as the contributor to evil. Yeah, very, very nice. I think it's beautiful and complementary. So what are the three main figures in the story, or three main objects in the story as the causes. One is night, right? The other is the veil, and what else? Night, veil, and the sea, right? Three main objects. So we can contemplate on each of them. So what is night for us? What is sea for us? And what is fish for us? Of course, we already talk about fish. It is our nafs, swallowed us. What about the night and the sea? Does any of you want to contemplate on sea and night? Yes, so sea is our world, right? In the representation in this story, it is told like this. Our sea is our world, or spinning globe, as mentioned here. And also it's interesting, right? This is one dimension, which is location. See, in most of engineering problems, there are two main dimensions. One is the position of an object, right? We can solve many problems with respect to positions. And the second dimension is the time. Actually, time is represented by our night. So our night is our future. So when you say future, it's kind of time dimension, time related. This is something attracting my attention. Here in the story, it's talking about myself, especially my nafs. And then it's talking about the position, and it's talking about the time. Because I will be at a position and I will be subject to a time. So I think it is very relevant. So I can put myself, under these three conditions. It's very generalizable, when I look at it like this. So from different dimensions, these are the constraints in my life, and I almost have nothing to do. I can't change anything with respect to these times, as I understand in the true way. If you agree, and if you want to talk more on this, and I want to pursue this Risale, this first flash, also a teaching for us about the causality, right? Causal relationships. And we are trying to, in a way, understand that causes are not the ultimate causes, right? They are just apparent causes for us to see the causer of causes. So, and I think that's the very core of the story, like for us to see the causer of causes in a way. But let's please try to dig more into these aspects represented by night, sea, and fish, and understand why our situation is much worse than Yunus alayhi salam.
Salam alaikum, brother.
Alaikum salam, Ahmed.
If you'd like, I found some notes I took earlier from a previous halakha I had on this regarding these three things. I shared it in the chat as well on a Google Doc. I made a
Okay,
PDF.
thank you for this.
So how I understood from this halakha a long time ago was, it's like the La ilaha illa anta. There is no Allah other than you. He is the only ma'budu bil haq, and that he is the only one who has hukum, control, a command over the night, and the one who can light our future, which represents our istiqbal. So there is no other creator than him that is worthy of worship. And this one was also under ajz mutlaq, because this is something you cannot do anything about. I mean, you will be ajiz because of the tekvini kanun, that we have no control of our future, and what we don't know is a night, the dark, and only he can light it up and make it nur. And La ilaha illa anta was like that. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka, to cleanse him from all imperfections, that he is perfect Rab that trains us, tarbiyah. And in this, the represents like the sea. Remember, you were mentioning like how our world, all these calamities are happening, and to understand what is subhanaka, I think my friend got this from like other tafsir, to understand what is the meaning of it, to accept that all of humanity and jinn who have done any kind of sin, that Allah is clean from that, and any ideas that since Adam that are contradictory to Tawheed, Allah is munazzah from them. And also that Zat-i Wajib Wujub, anything that we see as an imperfection, he is protected from that as well. It is just our ideas, imagination. So Subhanaka is like that also. It's a part of Ajiz Mutlaq, like you have no control over it. We are created Ajiz, and so it's a Tekvini Kanun that he's going to be the one who can train us, our perfect trainer, Rab, Tarbiyah, in this dunya with all the different waves of calamities. So this is like accepting your situation. And then Inni kuntu minaz zalimin, I think, is the very most important part, where accepting that he is the only helper, and that we are the ones who are doing zulm to our own selves, and that the fish is our nefis is swallowing us up, and that like all refugees we need to apply to him for help, which after diagnosing our first situation of ajiz, this is now we can choose as a teklif, the kanun, we can choose to confess that we are zalim and that only he can help us. So after we diagnose, if we can diagnose first, then we can get to the stage of accepting help from him or not. So this was kind of like a analytical way of I was able to like understand through notes, because there's too much going on here, and to think all of them in just La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin, like what Hazrat Yunus taught, is not easy just to even understand what he was saying. It's a very compact, loaded word, and there's so much. I mean, I guess we have to do so much reflection on it that when we say it, all those feelings come to us. So it's too much things going on here, but it's amazing. I mean,
right, inshallah. So
yeah,
all our readings together is a way to understand better and better all together, inshallah. With these nice points that you paid attention, I think also we should concentrate on, here it says there are phases of causes, right? So when you look at the let's say dark phase of causes, like the night, like the waves, so it's not a friendly phase, right? But when a hadith just unfolded, all of a sudden everything just changed the face. Everything becomes very light-faced, very smiling faced, and everything becomes friendly. I think also this is an important outcome. So in reality, Allah created everything friendly to us, but inni kuntu minaz zalimin, we just turned them to an unfriendly way. So here I understand there is no phase in between, either an enemy phase or a friendly phase. There is nothing in between, because in reality everything is friendly, since the creator is the same and the one. I think also this is an important aspect to discuss if you want.
Yeah, I agree.
And remember, in one of the short
Okay,
words,
I
right?
guess for
Somebody is drunk. Because he is drunk, he sees everybody is drunk and enemy to himself. In one of the short words, it is mentioned. But in reality, it's not the case. It's just because of being drunk. And here, when we are swallowed by the fish, by our nafs, most likely we will see the causes unfriendly, even enemy, in our lives. But when we just get out of this belly, little bit, we will see sun is shining or the moon is at the top, and we are on a life journey and we are seeing everything on a nice occasion, you know. So everything we see in the right phase, which is being friendly.
And I guess it's connected to, I guess, belief and iman, right? At the end of the day, and that perspective that it gives us, like the fish has become like a submarine to Yunus alayhi salam. It became like in the same way, our nafs could lead us to Jannah if we look at it and if we use it wisely to understand Allah's names and His creation.
Yeah, wonderful. So also this gives us a hope, you know. I see a hope here. We can be in a desperate position, but in reality, since everything is under control of Allah, with His beautiful names reflecting all the time, right? I'm not neglected, and actually I'm in a very good situation. I can be in calamities, apparently, but that is the best position for me. The only problem is I can't see it at the time. And for this reason, I always need to say, Inni kuntu minez zalimin in this perspective.
About seeing everything as a friendship, I guess, made me think of like, if you are not aware that everything that's happening to you is a way of examination or a way for you to improve, and if you just don't notice this, if you're mu'min or not mu'min, then you only look at what is apparent, just a physical calamity, physical hardship, then you are just trying to get rid of it, and it has become an enemy to you, you know.
Right.
If you're not understanding that cause is not what it's all about. It's not about that. Allah didn't have to create all of this and, you know, make the poor and the rich and all sorts of situations. The purpose is just for us to understand the examination and pass that physical examination and understand what is the real meaning behind it. Otherwise, everything is going to become a hardship for us, and even an enemy. Even if you are a believer, it will become like you will not like it. Of course, we don't like it, but it will become more of a smiling face, like you said. So I think it's more like a perception of seeing the meaning of the examination, not just focusing on the physical causes and, you know, all the things that seem to threaten you.
Yeah, beautiful. Good. So these are, I think, the core points of this Risale. And if we have a little bit of, how is the time management? Jezmabi, do we need to stop, or do we have a little bit of time to discuss about part by part, La ilaha ente subhaneke inni kuntu minez zalimin?
Yes, we can go over every phrase.
Okay. If we have a little bit of more time, we can contemplate on this part. So how are these sentences classified or distributed? So, La ilaha ente, La ilaha illa ente, this one part, right?
Yes.
Subhaneke is another part, Inni kuntu minez zalimin is another part. Yeah, can you start discussing for us this part?
So only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can bring the future for us. He can, nothing can help us for the future. So, we are connected with eternity very much. We cannot love something if we do not think of it. It is eternal. So we are, in our spirit, there is the love of eternity. So only Allah can realize our need for the eternity. So can transform our future into a real realm. So He can create us only. So I understand that. Our future.
Are you connecting this to eternity? You mean hereafter, especially?
Yes.
Ahira?
Yeah. So we are. So our future is darkness, but the real future is not this worldly life. The real future is the eternal life. So he can only, he can only bring us again for the second life. I understand like that. Maybe we can think upon this temporary worldly life for our future. So if we consider it for the temporary life, maybe sometimes we have anxiety of what will happen next tomorrow. So if we know that it is under the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will feel comfort in our heart. We will feel the easiness. Otherwise, generally, we have many anxieties for the future.
That's right. That's right. What about the next? Anybody else wants to talk about future mercy of? So we are actually drawing Allah mercy upon our future, and as Cezmi said, I understand most of this is about hereafter. We are in need of hereafter, because whatever our goal is for a near future, it will pass away. So the ultimate future is the hereafter. So we need Allah's mercy. Nobody else can bring the future, ultimate future to us. What about the other one? Glory be unto you. Subhaneke. What is the relationship between Subhaneke and drawing Allah's mercy upon our world?
Maybe as Brother Ahmed said, it could be like world, the world as we see it is tainted by, imperfections or ostensibly, right? I mean, seemingly they are tainted by imperfections, or the good and bad are mixed together and happening to us. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is glorified above all of that. He is, we glorify him and declare that he is clean and he is away and from all those imperfections, all those things. Maybe that is one thing that comes to my mind, because world versus subhanaka, right, glorification, that's one thing that I can think of.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you, Mustafa.
I was reading a Sufi book, and in it, on the station of Tawakkul, it was saying 2 points that drew my attention: that one should not feel safe from Allah's plans, and secondly, one should not despair of Allah's mercy. So I think this, relating to the future idea, I feel like, what we were discussing earlier might give the appearance, at least to me, that, because Allah Ta'ala is in control of our future, then we're somehow safe. However, what about there are many from what Allah Ta'ala wills, many are disbelievers and their future is, in hellfire. So how do we see that? I think, as for me, I would see that, nothing else is in control of our future except Allah Ta'ala. So to him we shall turn. However, I think we should not feel safe from his plan.
You mean this one for disbelievers? Maybe it's not as safe as we are thinking of?
Even for us, for the believers, that is, we are not safe in our future, as like we don't know whether we will have Iman when we die.
I see. It's like being in the state of be always fearful for the future that you will be in hellfire as well. What we say, being between Khawf and Raja, right? So since we don't know what our ultimate future is, we are as hopeful, but as you see, maybe we should be as fearful as well, to be balanced.
In that context,
if I may go ahead, Baykar.
yeah, Mehmet abi. Mustafa.
Yes, Mustafa Bey, listening to you.
Yok, I will listen to Baykar.
Yes.
Okay, Baykar Abi, let's listen to you. Then Mustafa Hocam.
I guess it's parallel to what we are talking about. So I'm having hope in Allah's mercy, but I don't have any trust in my own acquisitions. You know what I acquired. So it's kind of still trusting or putting my trust in Allah's mercy, in a way, because he is my owner. He knows better than I do. But if I start thinking that this is the good for me, or I did good enough, that's where the danger starts. So I don't not trusting my future kind of implies that it's kind of actually I am trusting my own goodness, that I will have something good from God for sure. But on the other side, I'm just trusting his compassion for my future. Mustafa, maybe he has a better explanation.
No, you put
Thank
it
you,
well.
Baykar.
You put it well, mashallah, Baykar. Like God is trustworthy. We always put our trust in God. There is no occasion, there is no inkling of thought that should require us, or that should give us the a reason to not put our trust in God. We always trust in God. Even when we fear his punishment, we trust in God, because he is saying, if you don't do these things, or if you do these things, I'm going to punish you. So we trust in God that if we don't behave the way he wants us to behave, he will punish us. What we don't trust is, as Bakrabi said, what we don't trust is our own ability to abide by his rulings, to earn his pleasure. And when we are hopeful of paradise, right, even then we are not hopeful of paradise for what we do, because what we do will never be able to earn paradise. Like whatever we do, the paradise is worth more than that. We can only enter there with his mercy. So we put our hope in his mercy, we put our trust in him, we fear his punishment. And if we have a problem, right, if there is something to have a problem with, rather, that is our own nest, that's our own lower soul. We have to deal with that.
Thank you, Mustafa Hocam. Yeah, very nice. And in the following passages, we are coming to, in a way, a definition of Islam is seen here, right? Because it's our ultimate goal to reach the shore of salvation, right? Sahili Selamet. So how can we, under these circumstances, with this type of prayers being responded, it gives us a way to reach this Sahili Selamet, shore of salvation. So in reality, what takes us to salvation is Islam, right? And Islam is like a ship, and Islam ship is constructed in the dockyard of Quran, the most wise. I think this is a very nice example, representation, or allegory, whatever we call. So Islam is a way, and Islam is crafted in the Quran, by the Quran. So I think it's beautiful connections. So how do we take from here? I think it was the question, like whatever happened, it is the story, right? Told to us, Yunus alayhi salam's story. And as Brother Ahmed mentioned, I think their understanding of Kudretullah, it's kind of a miracle is shown over there in a way. So let me ask you this: should we expect miracles with this type of prayers, or what is happening? I mean, I understand that when I am aware of what's going on by the unfolding of a hadiyah, I think I see the real phases of causes, and it gives me salvation. So I'm not expecting anything extraordinary as the apparent value, but I can expect a significant change in my life and the way I perceive things. And this is done by the Islam, which is crafted by the Quran. Am I right, or do you have other ideas?
Brother Harun, I mean, inshallah, we don't have to be in a situation. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, yes.
That we are expecting to be saved like him. So we are just reading this for gaining his will and being forgiven. So not for being examined. So hopefully we will not have to expect a miraculous situation. But why we are reading this? I mean, it's we are not in a situation physically, right? Or impossible, it seems. But in reality, we are in impossible situations because no cause can do anything. So everything is impossible, actually. I mean, no cause can do it. So, but Allah is doing everything. So, in this sense, I mean, when we read this, when we're reading this like 33 times, right? After the Maghrib, like every time, if we read with reflection, with all those meanings, then the ayat can come to our rescue. So that zikr becomes more of a reflection. I mean, we pray Allah doesn't examine us. I mean, like Yunus or Ayub or all of this. But I guess it is just like for gaining his will and, so like surgery, surgery for accepting, confessing our true state of ajiz, mutlaq, and then after that asking help from him, since we cannot acquire the help is only from him, that can give that need of our fakir, since we are fakir as well. So right. I guess it's to call it to our help, is to read with reflection every 33 times, or it's a lifesaver, I guess. Even if we are about to die, this can save our life, or everything we do, it can save. So everything is a miracle, actually. So we don't have to think like, I think the reason Yunus is like, it took many causes for this dua to come together, as an ilham to Yunus. And if you read in the beginning, it's very interesting. It says supplication of Younus and Hazreti Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. So normally I didn't pay attention. I just say this is Yunus since I was a child. So I never pay attention that it's also the supplication of Hazreti Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. I mean, many prophets have their own, like Musa has Ibrahim has Hazreti Ibrahim. But why is this one also Hazreti Muhammad? I mean, specifically. So that one I still have not figured out. Maybe someone can also, tell
It's
why
mentioned in the
is
Quran.
this in the Risale? I mean,
It's
why is it?
mentioned, right?
Yes.
It's mentioned in the Quran. So Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam,
Yes, but the
when
other
when it's mentioned in the
supplications.
Quran, it also is his supplication. It becomes a supplication as well. All the supplications mentioned in the Quran also becomes
Of
a prophet's
course,
supplication. That's how I understand that specific
yes.
part.
That's also how I thought, but I was.
But yeah.
Yes. So
you're asking us to think a little bit maybe different. It might have a different meaning. That's good to put forward.
Yeah, why is it here? I mean, in the other ones it doesn't say this. I noticed it has Hazrat Muhammad's name there too. The other ones doesn't have it.
Yeah, maybe just we should pay more attention, like the power of this supplication as we recite it by reflection, as you mentioned.
If I may say something, so we are all facing this reckoning, right? There will come a time after resurrection, we will all be taken to account, and then we will either be facing hell or paradise. That's the big thing. That's the big matter that we are all dealing with. And if you ask me if I needed a miracle to go to paradise, I would say yes, I would need a miracle, because the definition of miracle is breaking the norm. And then depending on what kind of miracle it is, we may need to add other conditions, like if it's a prophetic miracle or a saintly miracle or an alluring miracle. But the shared definition is breaking the norm. And if you were to think of the norm as putting everything to its place, which is the definition that they give for justice, right? Putting everything where it belongs to. I mean, based on what I have been able to achieve in this world, and probably will continue to be able to achieve, right, in terms of fulfilling my responsibilities to my Lord, the place that I belong to is not going to be paradise. I will fall short of that, and I do not know of anybody who does not fall short of that either. That's why in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, if it were not for God's mercy, none of us would go to paradise. And they said, even you, Ya Rasulullah. And they said, yes, even me. We can't worship him the way he deserves to be worshipped, right? So if justice is the norm, i.e. putting everything to where it belongs to, right? We need his mercy. We need the intercession of his mercy, which would be then a miraculous situation, in the sense that he would be putting us in a place out of his outpouring mercy, out of his fadl, right? Out of his generosity, he would be putting us in a place where we do not deserve, but he, out of his generosity, bestows on us. And that is valid for the Prophet ﷺ too, right? Even the Prophet ﷺ will not enter paradise because he deserves it based on his deeds, but rather out of God's mercy.
Allah razı olsun. Thank you, Mustafa Hocam. So
I guess we're at 10, but we can wrap up.
All right, we are at the end. I think it's just timely. So here in short part, I think it just summarizes human condition, right? True nature of man, or however we call it. So it's kind of talking about our anxiety, or what we are suffering from the smallest particles to the giant substances we are suffering. And also we have, on the other hand, we want to we like a flower, we love a flower, but also we love the paradise. So contrasts, in a way, we see the contrasts. We are fearful from smallest to the biggest, and also on the other hand, we are in need of everything, so that we want everything from particular to general. So this is being our true condition, and then who we are going to ask from, or who is going to help us to refrain, to be protected from. I think that's how the logic goes on. So in a way, once we understand our condition, as a result, we need to seek help from the ultimate sustainer, right? From the all-powerful, all-wise, and so on, all the names of Allah, in short. Anybody else wants to add on in this short part, in conclusion?
Nothing specific to this, but something that is, that you touched upon in the beginning, and I think it's worth remembering again, is that the way Ustaz Said Nursi does his tafsir here is that he relates this condition is not as a story that happens in the, in the past and just understanding the specific condition, but how it relates to our condition. And it's a type of tafsir, type of reading of the Quran that is potentially very effective and could be very impactful if we read the Quran that way. And in 20th word, I guess he mentions like the Quran relates numerous minor events behind which are concealed universal principles and which are shown as the tips of general laws. So all these ayahs, all these stories include these universal laws, tips of these very general laws that we can extract from these stories, from these ayat. So in that sense, I guess this is a nice example, as you touched upon in the beginning, of that, getting real relevant lessons from what we read in the Quran.
Right. Wonderful. When you say so, Mustafa, actually, even we can call this first flash as a way to unfold a hadiyah. I mean, this first flash itself unfolds a hadiyah because it brings the story close to ourselves to understand.
Yes.
So, Jazakallah khairan. So, thank you all. I think it's a good time to stop, maybe. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك